at the home of Doyle Ray Chatterton, 2190 Ada, Pocatello, Idaho. We're here to talk to Doyle. Okay, Doyle, what's your full name?
Doyle Ray Chatterton.
Why were you given that name? Do you know?
Well, it's after my dad,
And what was his name?
William Ray.
Okay. Did you have a nickname when you were growing up?
Oh, he used to call me Doc.
Doc?
Yeah,
Where did that come from?
DR,
Okay.
I guess.
All right. When and where were you born?
Robin, Idaho, at my grandmother's house,
What year?
1931, December the 8th.
December the 8th, 1931. Do you remember what your weight and length was? How tall are you now?
5'10" or 5'10" or 11, I can't remember.
Okay. Were there any unusual circumstances surrounding your birth? Was it pretty much a normal birth, or were there any?
Yeah, it was normal.
Okay. Do you remember who the President of the United States was at that time? Okay.
Had to be FDR though, didn't it?
I don't know.
Didn't he come in 32? Well, that's right, at 32.
I don't know my history. Okay. From which country did your ancestors immigrate? Do you know?
England, mostly.
Mostly England. Do you know anything about them? Okay. Who are your parents? Your father and your mother, what's their names?
Virgie Pearl Armstrong was her maiden name, and William Ray Chatterton.
Okay. Where and when were they born?
Well, my mother was born in Robin, out there, and my dad was born, I don't know where he was.
Okay. How old were you when your father died?
30, was 30?
Almost 3.
Almost 3.
Almost 3. So you don't remember him at all then? And how old were you when your mother died?
Well, that just happened.
Wasn't too long ago. Okay. Where did they grow up?
Right there in the valley.
Okay. Let's stop for a minute and see if we can hear it. Like I said, I'm just taking these questions out of this. What did your parents do for a living?
Farmed.
Farmed out there in Robin?
No, out at by Ermo,
Okay.
above Ermo, was a place they called Arkansas, they called it. I don't know why they ever did.
Huh. What did he farm?
Yeah, they had bought 260 acres there for buying it.
Uh-huh. 260 acres. And what did they farm? Potatoes or wheat?
Wheat.
Or wheat?
Wheat, dry land,
Dry land farm.
yeah.
What do you remember most about your mother?
I don't know.
Loaded question there.
Of her being gone and you wishing you could be with her.
Yeah, she left me with my grandmother mostly.
Uh-huh.
She
Okay.
didn't get married again until I was 10 years old.
Okay. So she got married again at 10 years old, and your grandmother was the one that was raising you?
Yeah.
And how long did you ever move back with your mother, or did your grandmother raise you the whole time?
No, I moved back with my mother when I was in the 5th grade.
Okay. And she was remarried at that time?
Yeah.
Do you remember your grandparents at all?
Just my, well, yeah, I remember my granddad on my mother's side was dead.
Okay,
And I remember her real well. And I remember my other, Chatterton. He died when he was 65. She lived on to be 97,
wow,
and she had typhoid or diabetes too.
uh-huh. Where did they live?
They lived right there in Arkansas or above Airmore.
Okay, so what do you, oh. Go ahead.
I was just say it's east of Airmore.
Okay, so what do you remember about them? Either one of them, your grandparents?
Not a whole lot. I didn't see them that much.
Okay,
I just remember going to their place, and then I went through the Yellowstone Park with them when I was, I can't remember how old I was. The second, third grade.
okay. In third grade or something?
Yeah.
Okay. And so you had one stepsister, is that right?
Yeah.
And what was her name?
Lois.
And how old was she? Was she younger than you?
Oh yeah.
How much younger was she? Do you remember?
11.
About 11 years?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you remember about her?
I'm not supposed to be in this bin.
What do I remember about her?
Did you do much with her growing up, or was she so much younger that you...
I didn't do much with her. Actually, I left, went in the service when was I 18 or 19? 18.
Okay. We'll come back to the service, that's part of the questions too.
No, you were 19.
Huh?
You were 19 when you went in the service.
Okay. So did you... Let's see.
Sorry.
Go ahead. What did you or your family do for fun when you were growing up?
Well, there used to be a lot of plays there at Robin at the old church. There was something going on, it seemed like that every weekend.
Okay.
That's what. Had a lot of three-act plays that they. Oh, who was that? Glendora. He put on stuff all over the county back then.
So did you like going to the plays?
Yeah.
Were you ever in any of the plays?
No.
Okay. Was there anything else that you guys did back then that you enjoyed,
Yeah.
besides going to the plays?
Well, we used to go to Lab a lot.
You went to Lava a lot. What'd you do in Lava?
Swimming pool.
Okay. It's probably a little different back then than it is now, isn't it?
Oh, a whole bunch different. My pools are all gone.
Uh-huh. Okay. Anything else you can think of as far as things you like to do and as a child?
Well, yeah, there used to be a lot of rodeoing going on. It seemed like about every weekend during the summer, there's always messing around riding something out there on the farm.
Okay. Right there on the farm then?
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. Did you have chores that you were responsible for?
Oh yeah, I helped milk all the time. I started milking when I was 5 years old.
Wow. How many cows did they have?
Well, there's always at least about 8 or 10 they milked. That's That's where the weekly money come from, was the cream check.
Okay. So what time did you have to get up?
Well, I didn't have to worry about it in the morning,
Just after school?
just after school.
Okay. So what other chores did you have?
Well, like getting the wood in the house, I didn't have to cut it or anything, but getting the wood in.
So did you like doing those things, or did you kind of despise them, or
No, I liked it all right. Didn't bother me.
what'd you do with the money you made?
Didn't make any for that, it's just when I run the dairy horse, get $1 a day.
$1 a day. So what'd you like to spend your money on?
Well, candy at the store,
So how close was the nearest store?
2 miles away.
You just ride your bike there, or walk,
We
or?
didn't have a bike then. Well, go down and get the mail every day. That's where they got their mail, they didn't come
Oh,
like it does now,
okay.
Everybody had to go get their mail. That was Harry Evans that owned that store. And he put the bargain barn in here when he sold out there.
He put the what?
Bargain barn in,
Bargain barn?
don't you remember that?
Uh,
Well, it was over on, it was in Alameda.
okay. Yeah. All right. That's still running, isn't it, Ben?
Yeah.
That's still going? What appliances did you have in the house, or didn't have?
There wasn't any appliances in the house or no electricity,
Didn't have any electricity at all, huh? Did you have any plumbing in the house?
so.
So what'd you do for cooking and the bathroom and everything like that, and showers and?
Bathrooms outside. Took a bath in an old tin tub in the middle of the kitchen floor.
Huh. And what'd they cook on?
Wood burner stove.
Okay. Did you have any favorite uncles or aunts or cousins while you were growing up?
Well, yeah, I had Frank Hicks was my favorite uncle. They lived out there at Robin too, about 3 miles from us. They had electricity, that's where they'd go to wash clothes
No.
down to her place.
So why was he your favorite uncle? What?
Well, he just kick. He was funny. He tells about the time that he'd come out here and he'd go to the bathroom, he called it a hockey.
Hockey?
Yeah. And he went to the bathroom there one time and said, and he mistakenly pulled up some stinging nettle. Wiped himself with it. He only did that once.
Yeah, we just take ones. Did he ever do anything with you, or was it just fun to be around?
Oh yeah, they used to come get me and take me to Pocatello with them. Or, somewhere out there.
Okay. What about any family vacations?
No, I don't remember any vacations, I never did go anywhere.
Just went to Yellowstone?
We went to Yellowstone that one time, that was with my dad's parents. That's only, they go to town, Pocatello, and buy groceries about every 2 weeks or something like that.
Uh-huh. So that's the only vacation really you remember going on, was to Yellowstone?
Yeah. And then back then, every time you went to town, you'd pass at least 3 cars fixing flat tires on the way down and the way back.
A lot of flat tires.
Oh, man. A lot of flat tires.
Okay. These next questions are about your childhood. What's the earliest thing you remember? Anything come to mind?
Not really.
The lavender bedroom.
Oh, I remember the bedroom that my dad died in was painted an awful color of lavender on everything.
And the casket.
Huh?
Casket, and you thought it was a,
No, I never did see him in the casket.
I know, but when they told you that he was in a casket, you
Yeah, I
thought they,
know, I remember asking where he was. I said, well, he's in the casket in the ground. And I couldn't figure out what a casket was.
she
Oh,
thought it was a basket, like a bushel basket.
okay.
Be sure and ask him about school, Larry, how he got there and,
Okay, yeah, it's on the
oh,
list here.
okay.
Who are your best friends?
Well, Cecil Armstrong and Leland Armstrong and Earl Dean Olson. And there was a Reed Capel and I didn't do much with him. He was in the same grade with me. There was just two of us in the same grade. All from 1 to 8 was in 2 rooms there at home.
Wow.
Well, 1 to 4 and then the rest in the other room.
Okay. What were the things you like to do with your friends?
Well, we did a lot of horse riding.
So you really liked riding horses then, it sounds like. Did you have your own horse?
Well, I had one I could use at the time.
Okay.
It wasn't mine.
Mm-hmm. Whose horse was it?
Oh, it was just a family horse.
Okay. So what kind of games did you like to play back then when growing up? Remember any games? Hide and seek or?
Well, we used to play a lot of that. Hide and seek.
Yeah, okay. Did you pull any pranks or anything that you remember that you got in trouble for?
No, I don't remember any of that.
Yeah, okay. Did you like to read books at all? What about your dental work? Remember anything? Who was your dentist or?
Yeah, Lava. I had to have 2 teeth pulled. And my jaw was all swelled up and he didn't want to put any denting in it. So he pulled them both and then we looked all over the room for my teeth because he yanked them so quick he just threw them.
So you remember that,
Yeah,
huh?
I remember that.
So did the tooth fairy leave you any money
No,
for your teeth? Did you have a favorite toy?
I had a wagon, I guess, that's about the only thing I had. To drag around and stick one knee in it and push it, so.
Okay. Any pets?
Well, we always had a dog that we used.
What was his name? What kind of dog was it?
Well, it looked like a collie, but it wasn't a collie, I mean, it was that color. It was just a regular dog.
What was his name? Or her name?
Bounce,
Bounce? Was it a male or a female?
male.
Okay. Did you have any childhood diseases or health problems?
Yeah, I had typhoid fever. My dad died of it. 'Cause I made it. My mother did never get it.
And how old were you when you got that?
Well, I was about 2.
Okay. So,
Until-
so you got it at the same time your dad had it
Yeah.
then? He died from it?
Yeah, he died. Well, it was all over the whole nation in 34. There was a real epidemic of typhoid fever. It was everywhere.
They didn't think you were gonna make it, did they?
Well, they had me stretched out for Deadwood afternoon.
Uh-huh.
I guess I must have passed out or something,
They thought you were dead.
yeah.
Did you have any stitches or broken bones?
Not out there. Oh, I got a real big scar here from sticking my hand in the wringer.
In what?
In the wringer, it's a washing machine.
Oh,
That happened to them. Didn't break anything. A lot of them broke their bones, but it didn't break mine. But I had to come to the doctor and Pocatello to have a bandage changed all the time. He'd just loosen the tape just a little bit and then rip it off. Oh, it gets a damn mess.
okay. Have you ever been hospitalized or had surgery?
Not until I was in the service. Right before I was discharged, I woke up one morning with appendicitis.
Oh,
It was about 4 days before I was getting out.
okay. So they took your appendix out
Yeah.
then? What would you say was your best experience in your early life growing up? Fondest or most memorable? Anything in particular come to mind?
No, not really.
Okay.
Did he tell you about his broken arm and broken leg?
Not about his broken leg,
And
or no?
why they didn't do surgery on his leg?
No, did you have a broken arm or a broken leg?
I had a broken leg. That's after I moved here. I was a sophomore in high school. I was up at, close to Justice Park up there, where they hauled up a little portable lift, you know. And I come down the hill and it was just about the end of the day. Fell and twisted it. I had a typical ski break. Then the doctor, pulled that bone. It wound from clear up here, clear down around.
What was it? What did it?
Spiral break is what they call it. And he drilled a hole in my heel and hung 15 pounds on it. I was like that for 4 weeks. And
In the hospital.
in a hospital. And he decided that the lake was down here was swelled up bigger than I thought. And he let it go that long, and then one Saturday he says, well, we're gonna operate on it Monday. And that Sunday the elders came around and administered to me, and woke up Monday morning and my leg was down to normal.
Wow.
The doctor walked in, he couldn't believe it.
That's neat.
So he didn't have to operate on it. It pulled out then. So it slipped out and he pulled it out a ½ inch longer than the other one, for growth. And I still grew, I wear a lift in that shoe.
Mm-hmm.
I grew, you wouldn't think I would have grown that much, but while I was, as a cat, that one didn't let it grow in there.
Okay. Do you remember how much things like gasoline, stamps, and food cost?
Well, gas was real cheap. I can't remember what it was.
When we were,
Huh?
when we were in high school, it was about 15, 20 cents a gallon.
Well, it was down.
Diesel, I know, was 17 when we drove to Arizona in 68.
That's because the car was a diesel.
Yeah.
Did you have, Did you have any family traditions?
Well, there used to be a lot of family dinners at my grandmother's house.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And then a whole bunch of people would come out there when there was hunting season was on, pheasants and ducks and all that. And they'd hunt that farm when I was a bird dog.
You were the bird dog?
Yeah, run through the brush and scare them out.
Did you like to go hunting with them?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I like to go there.
Did you hunt yourself?
Well, I used to hunt squirrels with the 22. So that's all I ever did.
Okay. Um, what did you do on Valentine's Day? Did you have a Valentine's box at school, or did you remember anything special about Valentine's Day?
No, just whatever went on at the school, you know.
Okay. What about Easter?
Well, it was always at church.
Okay. Did you have Easter candy and everything, or just the Sunday services?
More, well, there might have been a little Easter candy, but not very much.
Okay. What about the 4th of July? Do anything special on that? Did you go into lava and watch the
Well,
fireworks?
they always had something going on down there at the church house in Robin on the 4th and different, you know.
Okay. Halloween?
Didn't ever have Halloween till my mother remarried and I come to town.
Okay. Thanksgiving Day?
Just a big dinner or something.
Who would be there on Thanksgiving Day? Just your immediate family, or would you have?
Well, a lot of times there'd be a whole bunch, you know, about 15 or so or more.
Okay. Did you raise your own turkey, or where'd they get that? Or?
Well, they raise turkeys, but not all the time. They just,
Okay. What about Christmas?
yeah, that was their. I remember getting up one Christmas morning, there wasn't anything in my sock. I had to go back to bed.
So was there anything when you got up later?
Oh, yeah,
Oh. So what'd they usually put in your stockings?
oh, some toy or something to eat.
So what time did you usually get up on Christmas morning, the family?
I don't know, regular time probably.
Okay. Did you have a Christmas tree?
Yeah,
Anything else about Christmas? What was your most memorable Christmas? Do you think of any gift that you got that was the most that you remember more than others, or?
well, I got that wagon on Christmas, it had pump-up tires on it.
No. Was it one of those, what do they call them, flyers, or what did
Yeah.
President Faust call those wagons? Can't remember what they were
Something
called.
like that, I can't remember
Okay. Do you remember any Christmases that were a bad experience for you?
now. No,
Doyle,
what?
when we were young, you told me about these terrible Christmases you had.
Like what?
Well, Santa Claus forgot to come one time, and
Well, I told
there was
that.
nothing but coal in your stocking and under the tree for you one year.
Did that really happen?
Well, that was my uncle messing around.
Oh,
Doyle was about the only child out there his grandmother was raising, and the aunts and uncles had all come, and they kind of made him the butt of the jokes. He finally got so mad at him that what'd you do to your Uncle Jack?
Oh, he was pestering the hell out of me. And I got a pen about that long, jabbed him in the,
a what?
a pen and
Oh.
jabbed him in the face.
Can you believe your grandpa
He
did
like
that?
had a fit. You know, strictly cold.
So you didn't have too good of experiences then at Christmas then?
Well, no, it wasn't that great, you know, they were okay, but
You'd like to forget about them anyway. What about New Year's Eve? Did you stay out till midnight, or was that?
no, we never did do anything on Christmas, New Year's Eve, that I remember,
Okay.
out there.
This is kind of a big question here, but how is the world different now from what it was like when you were a child?
Well, we didn't have radio, and we didn't have electricity out there.
Uh-huh.
And they had electric lights on the main road out there, the one that goes through the gap. And the cost was so great to have it, you know, brought over to my grandmother's place that they didn't want to do it
Uh-huh.
for a long time. And finally they did, then they had to wire the house and all that stuff.
Okay, the next questions are about your adolescence. You mentioned going to school. Where did you go to school at?
There at Robin,
Okay.
the schoolhouse is gone now, so is the church.
And they had two different, they had first grade through 8th grade in one school, and then 8th to 12 in another
Well, that
school?
was an airman,
8th to 12 was in Aramall?
yeah. No, for ninth.
Well, 9th to 12, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
But he needs to tell you about his little school that he went to till the 5th grade, or did he?
Tell us about the school that you went to.
Well, there was only 2 rooms, 2 teachers, and from the 1st to the 5th grade was in one, and then third, yeah. And then from the 5th to the 8th was in the other one. And just 2 teachers that taught us, so you heard everything,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the whole, every grade you heard, except for the one that was in the other room.
So how many students were there total?
Well, there was only about 20 kids, the whole thing,
Okay.
and bathrooms are outside,
Mm-hmm.
no running water in the school. They come over and filled up a little drinking thing that you press the thing and water come down and shot up, and there was a bucket under that caught what you did drink.
Wow. How far was the school from your house?
2 miles.
And did you walk to school every day, or?
I walked a lot, and I rode a horse and turned it loose and it went home.
Oh, okay.
And they'd come down and get me at night when it was over a lot of time. And I walked home a lot.
Do you have any memories from going to school? Anything that comes to your mind about the school?
Well, the only thing I remember is we were riding the teeter-totter, and he got me clear up the top and jumped off and let me come down, and I hit my tooth on the, you know, had a handle
Uh-huh.
about that big, but I hit my tooth on that and broke it, corner off of it. I had that way till I was clear in high school.
Wow. Did you have recess, and did you play games outside during school, or?
Well, we played, yeah, what do you call it, where you run back and forth across, and somebody tries to catch you.
Tag.
Yeah, what was that called?
Tag.
Tag?
Run my sheepy run.
Okay. Run my sheepy run?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you ever skip school?
No.
What subjects did you like in school?
So, I don't know.
In high school, how about, what did you like in high school?
Any subjects that you like better than others?
I like geography real well. History.
Okay. Were there any that you didn't like at all?
I had a heck of a time with math.
Did you? Okay. Did you like school? Did you like to go to school?
Oh, yeah.
Do you feel like your teachers made a good influence on you or affected your life at all? Or?
I had some pretty good teachers.
Did you participate in any school activities?
We didn't really have any. You know,
Any sports or band or music or
I didn't have any.
anything like that?
He went out for football.
Did you
Well,
play?
that was after I was here.
Yeah, that's what he's talking about, is here.
Yeah, anywhere, anytime in school.
Well, I went out one year for football. The third practice we had, or whatever you want to call it. I got a screen stick fracture on this arm where his legs come around and bend it. And that was in my football.
Oh. Okay. You didn't tell me about that when I asked if you had any injuries. You've had more than what you remember. Okay. Any other school activities or plays or anything you did in high school at all? Okay. Did you go to school dances?
Yeah,
Did you date much?
no, not a whole lot.
What kind of songs or dances were popular back then?
Jitterbug.
Yeah, jitterbug.
So did you like to dance?
Yeah. Of course, I didn't like the jitterbug.
Uh-huh. Do you remember when you graduated? Do you remember anything about your graduation?
Yeah, I remember graduating.
How many graduated in your class?
What did we have?
365.
Yeah, 365.
And that was from Pokey High?
Yeah,
What year was that?
1950.
Okay. So have you gone back to any school reunions?
Yeah, we've gone to all of them that they've had.
So what impressions did you have when you went to those? Anything stick out in your mind?
No, just how old some of them looked.
Couldn't believe that they all looked older than what you thought they should be.
Yeah,
They couldn't have graduated with you, huh?
Doyle, those yawns look real ugly on camera.
huh?
You keep yawning and it looks so ugly.
We can cut that out.
You'll have to.
Okay. Anything else with school before we move on? Any other memories or any thoughts that you have?
No,
Okay. So when did you start going to Pokey High then? How old were you?
well, it was 1946.
Did you ever go to Aramo High School, or
No,
so you just went to the school in
fifth grade, and
Robin,
come to town.
and then you came to town at that point? So, what school did you go to when you first came to Pocatello then?
The Whittier over on 3rd and 4th, it's gone now.
Okay,
It's there by
it's a parking lot now.
the, yeah. And then, we didn't move till I was in the 7th grade and went to Irving.
Then Irving.
Well, I did go to Franklin for about 2 months, and then we moved, and I went to Irving.
Okay.
They moved on Arthur.
Okay, great. The next questions are about cultural. Did you need a drink of water or anything? Do you want a drink of water?
No,
Okay. Um, Anything in particular about the clothes you wear or anything that was interesting then back compared to now or anything? Or?
You mean high school days?
Yeah.
About rolling up the bottoms of the Levi's, and the boys all rolled their shirt sleeves up around so their muscles
I
would
never
show.
did do that.
But the other boys did.
So was that, did they roll up their cigarettes and their shirts and stuff
If
like
they
I see in the
smoked.
movies and
Yeah,
stuff?
if they
Oh,
smoked, they did.
okay.
That was the older men though, that wasn't high school
Yeah.
kids.
Okay.
Those could
How
be
old
some
were you when you got your driver's license?
Raisin long.
14?
14?
Mm-hmm.
They probably gave it out or they're younger back then because you helped out on the farm and stuff and had to drive, I would imagine. So did you ever have your own car when you were going to school or?
Yeah, I had a
There's milk
36,
in the fridge.
36 Ford when I was let's see, I got it when I was a junior.
Okay.
My Uncle Frank bought it for me.
Wow. That was kind. Was there anybody who most influenced your thinking during your growing up years? Somebody influenced you the most?
I can't think of anybody that did.
Okay. What was the name of the first girl you liked?
Carol Lee Gittens.
No, I took Monty Hawks out one time.
What was the dumbest thing you did to impress a girl?
Well, when I took her home, I gave her a big kiss and then run like hell.
Did that impress her?
I don't know, I never did take her out again.
Okay. Were you ever involved in scouts?
Yeah,
What do you remember about your scouts and what rank did you achieve and
oh, I got a, I never did, I didn't get very far in scouts. I think I got,
first class or something?
yeah, I did do that. We went up to Scout Mountain one time, while the war was still on, I remember that.
Did you go on very many overnighters, campouts?
Well, we went up there for about 4 days.
Oh,
That's all I only went on that one time.
okay. Did you enjoy it or?
Oh yeah, it was okay.
Did you ever attend seminary?
Did they have it then?
Not that I know of.
I don't think they had seminary. I don't remember anything.
Okay. How old were you when you were baptized?
8.
You were 8 years old. Do you remember who baptized you?
I think it was Lamar. I can't think of his last
I could look it up.
Did they do it in the river or did they have a font or where did they
name.
do
Well,
it?
I was baptized in the canal over by McCammon.
Okay. Did they do a bunch of people that day, or were you the only one? Or?
No, I think there was 3 of us in all.
Okay. Do you remember anything else about the baptism?
No, except that the water was doggone cold.
Yeah, it would have been late, right before winter, wouldn't it?
Well, it was in this, I might have been, I
can
was
go
8,
get
I hadn't,
So it was the next summer after you were 8? Okay. How old were you when you received the priesthood? Were you 12?
yeah, I was in 3rd Ward on Arthur there. It's now some other church,
Okay.
the 1200 block there where, that old church there, you seen that, on Carter.
Okay. Yeah. Think I know which one you're talking about. Do you remember who ordained you? Were you active in the church growing up?
Yeah, down in Robin I was active, and here in town I was,
Okay.
until I went to service.
Before, you quit before that. You weren't going to church when I met you.
Well, I was some.
Not when I met you. You were smoking then and you didn't go to church. We met New Year's Eve of his senior year in high school,
Okay.
and he wasn't active then.
Okay.
Doyle, all those yawns are being recorded. You look like a hippopotamus.
Huh?
All those yawns are being recorded.
Were you tired?
No, it's just a habit I have.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Did you go to any more schooling after high school? Did you go to college at all, or went right to
Yes.
the military?
When?
You went to a semester of ISU, you went to radio school for a semester.
Oh, that's right.
And then when he got out of the service, he went for another semester.
Okay. Is that both of them at ISU then?
Yeah, and then I went to Grimm's school.
Of business at night. For what, 3 years or
It
something?
was on Arthur.
There's 13 minutes left.
What kind of school was that?
Well,
A what school you said?
Grimm's, it was the name of
Grimm's.
it, Grimm's School of Business.
Okay.
It was under the GI law, and they got money if they went to school. So these veterans all went down there to school at night on North Main and had a ball and didn't do much schooling, but they got the check every month,
Okay.
GI Bill.
When you were a child, what did you want to do when you grew up? Did you have anything in mind that you wanted to become? What was your first job?
I worked at the City Motors cleaning floors.
Okay.
The old DeSoto Plymouth Garage that's now part of the university there on South Main.
Uh-huh.
And then
Right by Benton Street.
Huh?
Right by Benton Street overpass there?
Yeah,
he worked there 3 years.
Okay. Do you remember how much you made?
60 cents an hour.
60 cents an hour. What other jobs did you have?
Well, I worked at a service station a little bit on Main Street. It was Conoco there on the corner of Bridger and Main, 700 block.
Do you remember who owned it? Who did you work for?
Harold Grooms.
Harold Grooms.
Okay. How did you decide on the career path that you chose in carpentry? How did you decide to go into that?
I sort of liked it, is what, you know, I liked the idea of building.
Uh-huh.
And then one of my friends was Bigfoot, who ended up being a carpenter. Ron Ledsley, a plumber. And that's, you know, that's where it kind
Okay. This is a big question. What lessons about life have you learned?
that's my problem.
I know you've learned a few.
Well, I can't think of how to put them.
Okay. Well, I'll come back to that in a little bit. There's another question down here that's similar to that. When and where did you serve, and what were your duties?
Well, I served in Tacoma, Washington, as a air base there, as a radar operator. And then I got transferred to Portland, where I worked for the Ground Observer Corps, and they were using civilians to spot aircraft on the ocean. And we handled them there at the Masonic Temple. They were called in there, and we plot, you know, put them on the, had a big table with all the map on it and everything.
Did you have any particular rank? Were there any ranks or anything like that?
Oh, I made it to buck sergeant through there.
Where does he see how much time's left on that thing? Oh, 9 minutes? Okay. Okay. Were you ever injured when you were in the military?
No, I just had to have my appendix out about 4 days before I was supposed to be discharged.
What are some of the things you remember about being in the service?
Wasn't that bad. I mean, actually, the last 2 years, I didn't have to go to the air base or nothing. Just went downtown Portland to work. Wasn't really any different than somebody else going to work, except I had to wear the uniform.
So how long were you in the military?
4 years.
So did it change the way you felt about the country at all?
Well, I still like the country as well as I ever did. It didn't change anything as far as one way or another.
So how do you feel about the country, the United States?
I think we're doggone lucky to live here is what I think. Where you've got your freedom of religion and, you can do anything you want to do. There's nobody telling you you can't.
Okay. The next section here is on dating, courting, and marriage. The one we've been waiting for. How old were you when you started dating?
Well, I was probably 16.
Okay. You mentioned earlier that about your first date and who it was. What did you do on that date?
I to a show. Yeah, that's what we did.
Okay. And who was it again? What was her name?
Bonnie Hawks.
Okay. When, where, and how did you meet Dorothy? And how old were you?
Well, a friend of mine took her to a party, a New Year's Eve party. Glenn Moss brought her, and I brought Eva Evans, only time I ever did take her out. And we went to Dick Foot's house and had a party there. And I kissed her. That's when I knew. But my mother did something with her down at Crest's, and she come home one day and says, "I think I met the girl you're gonna marry." But she didn't know who it was till later we found out who it was.
Mm. So you met at a New Year's Eve party in your senior year.
Yeah,
So you were 17 at the time?
out there,
18.
18.
I was 18, yeah.
Okay. Do you remember where you went on your first day with her after that?
Movie
Oh, yeah.
show.
Okay. So what attracted you to her?
I don't know, I just liked her.
Okay. It's a tough question.
He told me that night, he liked how happy I was and the smile.
Okay.
You don't remember that? That's what you
Sort
told
of
me.
positive attitude.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you remember about your courtship then? And how long did you know her before you got married?
Year and a half.
Year and a
So how was your courtship?
half. It was okay.
How come it took so long to get married?
Well, I didn't have any income.
We were young. We were still in high school.
I got married after I got the service.
Okay. How did you propose to her?
Where were we? At Mink Creek? I was home on leave and took her for a ride up Mink Creek. Was that on a Sunday or?
Sunday morning.
Yeah. And we just went up there and stopped and started talking. And that's where I asked her.
He didn't really ask. He says, "Well, are we gonna do it?" That was Sunday and we got married Thursday.
Wow.
Cause he was on leave. He was
Yeah.
only gonna be there till the next Saturday, or Sunday, I mean.
So she said yes then.
Yeah.
So when and where did you get married?
Got married to her house. My uncle married us. He was a bishop then.
What was the date? When were you married? May 3rd,
May 3rd, yeah.
51.
1951. Okay. Did you go on a honeymoon or?
We went to Idaho Falls, that's all.
For 2 nights.
Okay. Where'd you stay at?
Wasn't it called the Bonneville Hotel?
Yeah.
Big old Bonneville Hotel.
Bonneville Hotel. Is that movie the Bonneville's named after?
I don't know.
Okay. What are some of your early marriage experiences?
Hmm. What? Can't think of any.
Well, let me ask a few questions then. where was your first home as a married couple? Where did you first live?
Tacoma, Washington.
Okay. So where all have you lived since you've been married?
In Portland, 2 different places in Portland. And then we came to Pocatello, and where did we?
Willard.
Yeah, we lived on Willard. And then I got to know a guy that I got in the finance business and went to Twin Falls for a couple of years, and then we come back here. That's when I decided to be a carpenter.
Okay. So what did you do in the finance business?
I was a collector, so I was
Okay.
chasing down the ones that wasn't paying.
So where'd you enjoy living the most?
Where?
Did you enjoy Pocatello the most, the best?
Probably. Well, I liked it in the service when we were living in Portland and Tacoma. But it wasn't the best, but we enjoyed it.
Okay. So you liked everywhere you've lived then, basically? If you were to describe Dorothy to somebody, how would you describe Dorothy?
Oh, I don't know. You're asking me questions I'm not used to.
Makes you think, doesn't it? Well, what do you admire most about her?
She's always been pleasant. It's always been easy to live with her.
Uh-huh. It's almost ready to run out of time here on this tape. What advice would you give your grandchildren on their wedding day? Any advice?
A little while since I'm, the age and stuff. It's just marvelous the way I'm looking at life now.
Mm-hmm.
I take a drive and look at the mountains and look at this and look at, it's just, I'm talking to God the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And the kids.
Yeah. And my family, it's just amazing how they all turned out, just perfect.
Yeah, you've been blessed.
Yeah. It makes me wonder why the heck I did what I did there for a while. Of course, I know what it was, to run around with the crowd is what it got started.
Sure.
But if there's anything too hard to quit, it's being addicted to something.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Until I took that smoke indoors, I tried, I don't know how many times to quit, but couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did that, and they had you doing stuff that was so ridiculous that when they said, okay, now you quit, I didn't have any problem after that.
It's amazing. And when you finally quit, you didn't have those urges anymore, did you?
No, it just went away.
It's amazing.
I mean, you couldn't, I had to put them in the trunk, in the car. I couldn't, just all kinds of crazy little things they'd have you do.
Mm-hmm.
But it worked. Thank God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really.
But I don't know why I ever, I think about it, it's the dumbest thing I ever did.
pretty common back then though, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Well, there was a lot of my relatives, like my Frank, the one that I liked the best, he smoked. He smoked cigarettes a little bit, he liked cigars.
Mhm. So did they, back then, did they, I'm sure they knew that smoking wasn't good for you, but did they have the medical, you know, did they come out and say smoking was bad for you back then, or was it?
Oh, yeah, they did, but I mean, it wasn't talked about like it is now, you know. Well, both my granddads smoked. And my dad smoked too, to come to think of it.
So as far as drinking, was that hard to overcome, stop?
No.
That was different then.
Well, I don't think I ever really got addicted to it
Right,
like someone I wasn't an alcoholic.
right.
But some people, boy, they're an alcoholic before they know it.
Mhm.
You know, like Logan. I mean, they're saying he's one. That's hard to believe, but some people they get captured that easy, that quick.
Mhm.
Like meth, I guess you can take that once and you're addicted.
Yeah. So what made the difference in you? Why did you decide to get active in the church again? What?
Well, I just knew it was the right thing to do. I don't know why, you know, that I did what I did. Of course, we were the crowd I run around with. We were all of the same church.
Uh-huh.
Some of us went more than others.
Mm. So how was your experience working in the temple when you were working up there in the temple?
Oh, I liked it real well.
What did you like about it? Anything in particular?
No, just the thought of being there was what was good about it.
The feeling, did you get a feeling? Did it
Well,
make you feel
yeah,
good?
Yeah, it made you feel, yeah, you felt the spirit more or less being there.
What-
Huh?
Go ahead.
I just, my feeling about it now is so much stronger, you know. I mean, it's just, I can't really put it into words, but it's beautiful. I mean, the feeling I have about it.
About the temple or about the church? Or?
About the church, you know, and the gospel, the whole thing, you know,
Mhm.
it's just, when you think about the atonement and all that stuff, I mean, it's just about floors you.
Mm. So how'd you like the Salt Lake Temple?
Oh, I really like that. I'd like to go down there again and go through.
Yeah, we'll have to plan another trip sometime and go down there.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at what they had to do that with then, I mean, so it took 40 years, but so what?
Yeah.
I mean, just absolutely gorgeous. All that work in there, and the woodworking, and the stained glass windows, and oh man. And I've done all that stuff myself.
Mm-hmm.
And back then they had to cut that glass. They didn't have anything they could do it with. Like
Yeah.
they can now.
Yeah, it amazes me, all those, you know, not only the old
Well, that-
temples, but
Yeah, that ironwork they had, you know, over the glass, I mean, that took some time too, and that was real intricate stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I look at that and I look at, you know, the cathedrals over in Europe,
Yeah.
and it just amazes me, the craftsmanship and
Oh, yeah, it's,
how they could do that.
well, when you look at what's happened from, you know, from way back till now, I mean, it's like the cell phone for crying out loud, and radio and TV and all, and our cars and electricity. It's really something.
Yeah. Yeah, I gave my talk in state conference last night. It was on temples, and I talked about the Manti Temple, or the Kirtland Temple, which was the first one, and then the Nauvoo Temple, which was the second, and then the next four, St. George, Logan, Manti, and then Salt Lake were the ones as they were dedicated. And I said, do you know how many temples were dedicated when I was born? There were 10.
Really?
Yeah, now we've got,
125.
125.
When I went on my mission, there were only 16.
Wow.
And, you know, that's 30 years ago is all.
Well, Gordon Hinckley is the one that really got going
Yeah.
on that.
In the year 1999 and 2000, they dedicated 49 temples
Wow.
in 2 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that is,
The concept of the new small temple was one reason that happened,
That's
wasn't it?
the only reason it could have happened.
And that was
Yeah.
Hinckley's idea, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's amazing. It was inspired.
yeah, he was the Vern Hancock. You remember Vern? I was asking him because he was an architect for the church. You knew that,
Oh.
didn't you? He lives in Salt Lake. He's retired now, but he was the main architect for the
Was
Nauvoo
he? I
Temple.
didn't know that.
For the Nauvoo Temple, he did a fireside a month ago at our stake, and he came and talked about the Nauvoo, the miracles that happened there, and how amazing the experience that was. But he was saying that, I asked him, I said, what did you guys think when President Hinckley announced to have 100 temples by the year 2000? He said, we didn't see how it'd be possible, because it takes 3 to 5 years to build a temple. And he said, you know, it was just, we didn't see how it
Just
would be
not
possible. And he said that President Hinckley had asked him to try to come up with a smaller temple. And he said that they tried, and to try to make it a functioning temple, they were just kept running into dead ends all the time. He said that President Hinckley was on an airplane once, took out an envelope out of his pocket and drew the temple on this envelope, got back to Salt Lake and said, here, this is what
There it is.
it is. And so they took that and designed a smaller temple off that, and that's the reason why they were able to do 50 temples in the next 2 years. And
that's,
anyway, it was just neat talking to Vern Hancock and listening to some of the things he was saying. But in April of '98 is when President Hinckley announced that, and there were 51 temples at the time.
Wow.
And so-
in 2 years, they,
Within 2.5 years, by the end of 2000, they had dedicated, well, they dedicated 2 more that year in '98, and then they dedicated 49 in the next 2 years. So they had 102 temples at the end of 2000.
and President Hinckley went and did the dedication on
Most
most
of
of
them,
them, didn't he?
yeah.
Yeah.
well, they had people in Africa that organized themselves. And then we come over there and, you know, where was I reading that?
It's been a movie, we've seen it 2 or 3 times about how the church grew in Africa. This
Oh,
one
it's just-
certain man just simply
And
kept
it was
it going.
black people.
And they all were eligible for temple recommends, they were really practicing the
went at it,
gospel, and we weren't in there at all.
Hmm.
And then when we came in, he had everything pretty much set up and going.
Uh-huh.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
It's miraculous, it's more than amazing.
yeah. Well, right now, the big thing is Asia, China, and, you know, we have branches there, but they won't let the Chinese people meet with, they have two separate branches.
Yeah,
One for the Chinese people and one for those that
The-
aren't Chinese, you know,
Yeah.
or Asian or whatever. And, but they recognize the church there, and in fact, from what I hear, they like the church there because it teaches good family values
and no alcohol
Yeah,
and
and
smoking
they're just-
and all that.
and
So they have to train Chinese missionaries then to go out and
well, what the-
baptize Chinese,
Well,
is that what you
we
mean?
don't, they don't have missionaries in China right now.
Oh,
But what's happening is, the Chinese people are coming, like we have some at ISU. In fact, we've got two that are gonna be baptized here
is that
in the
right?
next month. But mostly BYU, or Hawaii. Even the government's sending their people to Hawaii to learn, to go to school and learn about our culture and everything. And a lot of them are being baptized while they're there. They're going back to China, and they're becoming leaders. And President McMahon was telling me that he heard that the Chinese government, they only have two stations, TV stations in China apparently, from what they said. And they're probably gonna start broadcasting BYU in China.
Really?
That's what I heard.
Oh, that'd be wonderful. You know, what might have helped on that is the Young Ambassadors.
Yeah.
We've seen that show on TV 2 or 3 times where they went to Beijing and just knocked their socks off. They loved it. They did one show first for the government officials because they wanted to make sure there wasn't gonna be anything they objected to. And they loved it. They
Yeah.
loved it.
Yeah, there's
It's
a lot of things
amazing.
going on in China, and a lot of things they can't tell us
Yeah.
about.
Probably so. Boy,
Anyway,
it's sure gonna, you know, they think there will be 1 billion cars on the road in China within just very few years now. Oil, we think gas is high now, you wait.
yeah.
We need to get some hybrids developed fast. Too bad they can't do the windmills, store the energy and put it in the car somehow, and we could all run on
They
wind.
can. Well, I mean, off the batteries, you know.
Yeah,
The
they
windmills could generate.
charge the batteries and
but, yeah.
put them in the car.
Well,
So Doyle, have you formulated your idea of life, what you've learned or what you feel about it now?
No.
I'll type up some more questions and let you look at them and think about them. And then we can do some more. I've just felt an urgency to do this for a while, and I said, as soon as I get these talks over with, the state
Yeah.
conference, I'll come over here. And today worked out good because we didn't have more church meetings all day, so.
We had an interesting afternoon. Larry came over and interviewed your dad on video and asking a dozen questions, more than a dozen. Yeah, like where did you grow up and what was the farm like and all that. Yeah, it's been real interesting. Larry, did you do this for a Boy Scout thing for Ben, or why did you do it?
No.
No, just for posterity.
I wanted Dallin to do it for a Service Eagle project, but they wouldn't pass it because of his family.
Oh, he wanted Dallin to do it for an Eagle project, but they wouldn't pass that for an Eagle project because it's family. 14th.
Is it going? Today's December 14th, 2008. We're at 2190 Ada, home of Doyle and Dorothy Chatterton. So, just wanted to ask a few more questions here. Go over there. Okay. Well, I don't remember, I wonder if this is too far to hear very well. I don't remember a lot of the questions we asked, so I kind of want to.
Don't remember any of them.
So, one of the
questions, or one of the main things I wanted to ask you about was how you feel today compared to how you felt growing up.
A whole bunch better.
Like, what do you mean?
Well, I just like life a whole bunch better. Really do, a little bit.
I wonder if they can hear that
I doubt it.
anyway, so. A few weeks ago, you were telling me just how you felt about life and
Yeah.
beauty and all that. Just
Well, it's real strange, it's just come over me like she's hollering at me about riding in the car, but what I was really doing was talking to God, telling him how I felt about everything.
what'd you tell him?
Told him I thought he had the most beautiful world that ever come along. How'd you do it? You know, it's just amazing when you get in that mood. Everything is so beautiful. And I think of you kids, can't call you kids because you're not kids, but I mean, when I think of them growing up and all the grandkids there is, it just makes me feel real good.
So how long have you felt that way?
Well, I started feeling that way right after I got told how sick I was. And boy, the last few days with that pain that I got after leaving the hospital, oh man, I can see why people blow their head off. Because if it had got much worse, I'd have been thinking about that.
Got the guns hidden, haven't you, Dorothy?
And we don't have any bullets that I know of.
I don't think we got any bullets.
Talk loud, honey.
So when you started getting sick, you started thinking about life, and that's kind of what made you start thinking about that?
I guess, I don't really know what, it just come over me like well, I've been home teaching and all that stuff, so it's probably all been building up a little bit. I like to do that. Doesn't bother me. And the people we go to are real friendly and real nice.
So do you like to home teach?
I guess I do.
Okay. Who's your companion?
A guy across the street, Tom Holtz,
Oh, okay.
you know him?
Yeah.
He's a nice guy.
So,
I was doing it with a guy down on the end of this block, and he went back to work for the church on a mission. And he called me one night. You know, it surprised the heck out of me.
From Maryland,
Wow.
where they are on their mission, they call him, see how he was doing.
And then we've had 2 people die on it, you know, that we were teaching.
hmm.
Who was it, that one man, and then,
Carmen Egbert.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
and then
George.
George has died just a couple of weeks ago.
So how do you feel about the church now?
I feel real good about the church. I think it's true. I think it's all true.
Any thoughts about Joseph Smith or Book of Mormon or?
Well, the way it's set up, it's got to, the way things are happening, it's got to be true. Of course, I tell you now, pray about it, read the book, and you'll know it's true.
Have you done that?
Well, we read it.
Okay.
You know, that's something you never heard growing up. I didn't hear that, did you?
Oh, I heard it.
You were told to read and pray?
Yeah.
Why didn't you then?
I didn't like to read then,
You like to read now, don't you?
yeah. Yeah, I go to bed every night to read.
Puts me to sleep too.
I don't have much trouble sleeping.
Yeah.
It's ALS, it's guaranteed there,
Yeah.
for me anyway.
What did you think of President Hinckley?
I adored him. I mean, I miss him, I really do. I think he's one of the neatest, him with David O. McKay, I liked him real well. And the one we got now is fine. He's a good man. I don't know, I just never really have good feelings about him.
Any stories in particular about him or David O. McKay, or that you can think of? that-
No, I can't.
How do you feel about your children?
Real well.
He tells me they're all saints, especially one son-in-law named Larry, and then another one named Robert, another one named Dale. He thinks we are so blessed to have such good in-law kids. None of our children married badly to where they had,
It's just,
you know, problems.
well, and we're still friends with Mark's wife. She married a good man. Of course, he's not LDS, but he's a good man.
Myself, I had some, excuse me, I had some pretty neat experiences in the temple with you guys.
Oh,
Is there any thoughts that you had when you went to the temple, the first, when you went back, or just recently when we went to Salt Lake, or anything like that?
well, I had good feelings all the time I was doing it. I did every time I go.
Did you like to go to the temple?
Yeah. But we want her to start going again. She thinks she's gonna drive, make her drive for it.
So you feel like you could go back right now with your help?
Oh, yeah. I can make it through there. Of course, all I have to do is fall on the floor. I have all kinds of help.
Yeah. What about you, Dorothy? Feelings of the temple and experiences and stuff?
Oh, I love going to the temple. When we first went back after 38 years of not going to the temple, I was just so thrilled I could hardly think. It was wonderful. And it has been every time we've gone. We spent 8 or 9 months on a mission type thing in the temple, where we folded men's socks and passed out T-shirts and so on.
Well, we run that counter there too. For a while.
And that was really a good experience. But doing the endowments is the best.
What's that book?
Has some questions.
Oh,
You know, what I'd like to hear on the tape is his school experience. It's so unique. The country school he went to.
Can you tell us a little bit, tell us about your school experience and the country school you went to? And
oh, yeah. It was, they only had 2 rooms, and 1 to 5 was in one room, and 6 to 8 was in the other room. And then when you get out of there, you went to airman school. And that schoolhouse is gone now. And the 2 I went to town here are gone. Emerson and Rear, they're on the floor. All it is a parking lot now for the university.
How many kids were in your class, Doyle?
Well, there was about 42 or something like that. And
in the whole school?
No. Oh, you mean, there was 2 of us in the 5th grade.
Only 2,
Wow.
can you imagine?
And there was about 4 first graders, and all related to me. Go get that picture on the drawer and show it.
We will.
What other questions, Dorothy?
Well, if the grandkids are gonna see this, then I think they should hear about his experiences of hearing the Holy Ghost. He has heard the voice,
That's
not
great.
just once, but several times. So start with
Oh, you
the
want me
hay rake and then about your broken leg.
to, well, I was at, this was when I was had to be the year after that I broke my leg, it had to be that next summer. And, when I broke my leg in Scotland, what they were doing then was hauling a portable ski lift up there. We decided, the neighbor boy there hauled. This boy took me, I went and rode up with him and come back with, he lived right there by Doug Collins. He had a Mercury convertible to come back in. And they took me right to the hospital, and I was out there on a table, and the doctor got there. He come over and lifted up my leg. Yeah, it's broke. He's probably the one that hooked it up, hooked up the muscle, because he lifted a little ways. And that's what was wrong, is that I started getting cold and brought it in. And I laid there for 3 weeks with, I couldn't get out of bed, couldn't do anything like that. I had a radio that I listened to a bunch of stuff on. And he come in on a 4th week. It was, well, what happened first is that it happened to be on a Sunday that the elders come by. And they says, can we minister to you? And I said, yeah. And my leg had swollen up bigger than my thigh. And it had been like that ever since I got on the next morning. It was like that and stayed that way. And the doctor was gonna, he come in and told me Friday, he says, I've told you this before, but I think we're gonna have to do it. Cut it open and get the bone out of the muscle. And then that was Friday, and then Sunday they come in and ministered to me. And the next morning when I woke up, it was gone, which is like the other leg. Clear down, clear gone. You wouldn't think you'd lose it that fast. The doctor come in and I about fainted. What happened here? I says, the elders come by and I let them minister to me. Oh. Oh, but that was, and then he hung another 3 pounds on the leg and pulled it out an extra, pulled it out an extra ½ inch over. So I was actually an inch longer than the other one. And when they got me all cast and everything, I started growing like a weed. And I grew an extra, I wear over ½ inch in my shoe. So you can see how much of the calf bone grow.
So is the doctor LDS?
I don't know, Hardwick's, I don't think he was. But he was the one that brought me into this world. He started out in Downey, and he come over to the house and brought me into this world up where my grandmother lived. And that was
get the hay rake.
Oh, well, and I heard the Holy Ghost say to me, when the hay rake, the tines have been falling back in the windrow before, they just kept slowing down on it. And I had it. I raised up and kicked this one right square in the butt as far as I could, and off the rake I went. As soon as I hit the ground, this voice says, "Don't move." And the rake run right over the strongest part of your head, right where the muscle runs, or the bone runs under your brain. That's where it run. If it had been on the other side of my ear, I'm sure it would have slipped on my neck, and that would have been it. I wouldn't be here today. But
I don't get that story. Tell it again.
what do you mean?
What happened?
He was driving a team of horses with a great big machine, a hay rake.
They're about, this is, one, well, it'd be about the counter under there, to that wall, that's how.
It's
how wide
huge.
they are.
And the horse kept slowing down, so the tines had dropped back into the windrow. And he got tired of the horse doing that, and he stood up and kicked the horse in the rump, and it knocked him off balance. He fell to the
Well, the
ground.
horse jumped,
Oh, the horse jumped
yeah, that.
because you kicked him.
I always thought I should have been allowed it that day.
Anyway, this voice told him not to move. If he had moved, the horse would have run over him. It would have killed him.
Oh, it'd been quick.
But he laid real still, and the rake run over him, run over his head. He still got a little crease in his ear where it,
I got a knot in my ear where it
a
healed
knot.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it parted the ear right where it sticks out of you.
Wow.
So that gave him a testimony of the Holy Ghost.
Yeah, and then while I was working at the courthouse, I was sitting down to go on the interstate to Clark, and I'm sitting there, I'm ready, I'm the first one in line, my light changes, and here's this car coming, and this voice says, "He's not gonna stop." And he just speeded up, and sure enough, he went on by. He'd have got me right square in the doors if he'd kept coming, if I'd have turned. And that's another time I'm sure he spoke up.
Wow. You were telling us you and Dorothy were telling us just a few weeks ago about how rough a childhood you had, and
Oh,
different people raising you and stuff. Can you tell
well,
us
I
a little
only
bit about
lived
that?
with my grandmother and her youngest son that hadn't got married yet, Nolan. And my mother hadn't remarried.
Tell him why you were living with your grandmother. Tell him what happened.
What happened?
Typhoid fever.
Oh, I had typhoid too.
How old were you?
3.
Not quite 3. He would have turned 3 a couple of 3 months later. And his dad had it.
Yeah, my mother did never get it, but he got it bad, and that was the years all over this nation. People dying like crazy over typhoid. And
1932,
34.
34? Oh yeah, you were born in 31.
And they lived on a farm up in a place called Arkansas, between Lava and McCammon, up in those hills. If you go up over there, you
I
end
don't
up
know
in
what they ever
Downey.
called it for.
Somebody from Arkansas
Probably.
probably named it.
Probably.
But anyway, when her husband died, Doyle's mother left that little farm. She couldn't do it alone, and took Doyle to live with her mother. And she went to Salt Lake to work. And sometimes she worked in Pocatello, sometimes Salt Lake. But he lived there till you were
in the 5th grade.
5th grade. And then
And
one
then-
day,
Then she married Roy, and they come out and got me.
yeah, with
That
no
wasn't-
warning, just
was
came
all-
and got
I
him.
wasn't very happy about it.
Yeah, said, get your clothes, you're gonna come and live with us now, this is your new dad. So it was quite a shock.
Yeah, that was,
He went from a little farm in Robin to the big city of Pocatello, which wasn't very big then.
well, no, it wasn't.
So, was that the house on Arthur, or was?
Yeah,
No, 3rd. You lived on South
oh,
3rd
I lived on
first.
South Third till I was in the, well, let's see. Oh, I went to 6th and 7th at Franklin. Well, I mean 6th at the grade school.
Mhm.
Then I went 1 year at the Franklin, and then she got married, and we went over there. And, well, she was married before that.
And then you moved to South Arthur,
North
North Arthur. I lived on South Arthur, he lived on North Arthur. We lived right down the street from each other.
Mhm.
He lived on the 1300 block, I lived on the 7. So we were 20 blocks apart and never knew each other till we were seniors in high school. On New Year's Eve, we met.
Well, you might as well tell us about that too. I think we talked about that before, but go ahead.
Okay. I worked in a dime store named Crest, it's sort of like a Shopco, except the counters, each one had a girl
It's right
to
there,
work the counters,
First Street South.
Main
Yeah.
Street, South Main,
Okay.
100 block. Anyway, this lady come in to buy some socks, and she took so long to pick out those socks, I finally said, well, who are you buying these for? Are you buying them for how old a man are you buying them for? And she said, well, he's a senior in high school. And I said, oh, I'm a senior in high school, what's his name? She says, Doyle Chatterton, and I said, oh, I don't think I know him, but I think I had a girlfriend that went with him for a bit. And so I showed her some socks, and she bought them, and and that was the end of it.
And come
So-
home and tell me who. She says, I just seen a girl you're gonna marry.
So 3 months later, or a couple of months later, was New Year's Eve, and I had a date with a kid. And he came to pick me up, and we went out and got in the back seat of a little 36 Ford. Yeah. And Glenn was his name, and
Who
he's,
was driving, Glenn?
no, you were.
Yeah.
We were in your car.
Yeah.
And Glenn said, I'd like you to meet Doyle Chatterton. I said, oh, Doyle Chatterton, how do you like your socks? And he stuck one foot up in the air and said, I got 'em on. So we went to the party, and then at midnight, somebody said, let's kiss all the girls after the bells rang and everything. Said, let's kiss all the girls. So Doyle kissed me, and it was stunning. The bells rang, the whistles blew. We stepped back and looked at each other, and then he kissed me again. And the bells rang and the whistles blew. And we just looked at each other, and then he kissed me the 3rd time, and my date grabbed my hand and said, that's about enough, and took me into another room. Anyway, we danced together quite a bit after that. And then he started calling me, and we started dating, and a year and a half later, we got married.
Yeah, that was.
And so where did you live when you got married, and what was your, after that?
Well, we started out in Tacoma. We had
He was in the Air Force and was stationed at McCord Air
No,
Force Base.
we come back,
No, we got married while you just got out of basic training
I
and
know
came
all
home.
that, but I
Okay,
say, we went to Tacoma first,
Tacoma. Mhm.
and then we moved to Portland. And we lived there for 2 years in each place. And then I got out, come home.
So was that when you started
as a carpenter?
I had started before that, but I come back and went to work for Daryl again.
Well,
Darrell Booth?
he came home and went to college for one semester, and he did not like it. He didn't like sitting at a desk doing all that schoolwork. And so that's when he got the job. And he had three job offers or chances, one with Daryl Booth as a carpenter, one with the post office, and one with either Simplot or FMC.
Yeah,
I think it was FMC. And he decided he'd rather be a carpenter than work in the factory, you know, or, so he went to work for Daryl Booth and got his apprenticeship in carpentry. And we had our little family. Some
Oh.
people thought it was a big family.
we lived on Willard in a little apartment for a while. And, we lived out on Swisher Road out there by that cemetery, flat one. And then, where did we go after that?
Then you got the job in Twin Falls and left the
That's right.
apprenticeship. He only had a year to go and he
Working
left
for-
the apprenticeship.
Working for a finance company that loans money. That was a big mistake.
We lived away from here for a year and a half. We lived in Twin for about a year and Burley for 6 months. He worked for trailer sales there. And then we came back to Pocatello and he took up the apprenticeship again and finished it up, and
So they had booted me out.
yeah, they took him back. One way he's changed over the years, when I met him, he claimed he had never read a book from cover to cover. And at night when we went to bed, I'd always want to read for a while and he wouldn't. And so now, he's the big reader. He reads all the time and reads books and enjoys them and found a whole new world through books, didn't you, honey?
Maybe you could take a lesson.
I found out I'm smarter than I thought I was too.
Did you hear that?
He found out he's smarter than he thought he
Than he
was.
thought he was, yeah.
Well, I remember you reading all the time when I'd come over here,
Oh,
you know, with Debbie, come over here and you'd be reading books and stuff.
Doyle really has a huge library, and a lot of it is on physics, math. He's got a lot of physics and math books and that kind of thing. And then he's got a whole lot on the brain, how to make the brain better, how to make the brain work, how to read faster, how to spell better. He always was after self-improvement. And then hypnosis, he's real interested in that and has got a lot of books on that. But the big love of his life was on alternative medicine, the vitamins and what works for what.
Well, when you haven't worked so good for you, you can't help it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's had some real success with that type of medicine.
Why don't you tell us about that?
When I had that skip in my heart, well, actually what it was is, it was a skip, but it felt like I was trying to do two beats. And I go down to West and he sort of grins at me.
Chiropractor.
He says, "You told me exactly just about the same words these other three people did."
Mm.
And he says, "This is what they're taking." And I come home and took those, and I never had another one.
It's called Cardio Plus, if anybody needs it. And the other thing that happened is he started having strange feelings that would come up through his body and just make him feel awful. It would put
It's
him
just a dread feeling, you know.
state of despair.
Just terrible feeling.
And he'd kind of just stare off into space for about 20 seconds or less, not very long. And we went to a neurologist and had all these tests and found out that he was having mini seizures. And so that if you have more than one seizure, they call it epilepsy. and it can be from hundreds of different causes. So epilepsy itself isn't a disease, it's just that you have more than one seizure. Anyway, they put him on Tegretol, which is a medicine with a lot of bad side effects. So once again, he went to see his friend Dr. West.
And he says, I got something here that I think will work. And it was called
Phos food,
Phos food. You put
PHOS
10
food.
drops in a glass of water. But I think that's what screwed up my throat.
It was so strong that he thinks that it corroded his
I
throat.
I think he should have me down to 8 or something, because it's a little bit strong.
But the seizures stopped when he started taking the Tegretol with Dr. Garland. And then when he switched to the other with Dr. West, no more, he still didn't have seizures. And he didn't even tell me for a couple of months that he had stopped the other. So he knew I wouldn't let him drive me to Texas if he weren't on medicine for seizures.
And the doctor, did he tell him he'd be taking it the rest of his life?
Oh, yeah,
The prescription?
yeah, there's no going back once you start on that. And it just didn't
Well, I
work that
probably
way.
did by now, that,
But his
Damn
seizures
stuff.
were very, very small. He never ever lost consciousness. You saw him have them
I do.
That was what, about 5 years ago?
5
Yeah.
years ago, 2003. And he's never had one since. And he stopped taking the phos food this spring, and he still hasn't had any. So maybe we ought to tell him about the day we heard what's wrong with him,
Yeah, that's good.
about going down to the VA hospital. Dr. West, again, hold up your hands and let the camera turn them around so they, like this, Doyle, so they can see the back. His hands started losing flesh, and we didn't think much about it. You know, you get old, your hands get skinny. And then he went into Dr. West one day for something else, and you tell the rest of it.
well, he says, I want you to go get an MRI of your neck. I says, okay. So I went and got one, and sure enough, I had herniated discs in my neck, which was causing that. And then all of a sudden, I'm losing 40 pounds. And it's all mostly about my belt line. So
Well, the
that's how
MR,
they got me into the thing at
VA.
the VA and so
We
on.
gave the MRI to his VA doctor, and then the VA in Salt Lake called us and said, we want him to come down, and we made the appointment. And went down there, and a Dr. Singleton did what they call a ERG test. And then what?
Well,
He said usually you have to wait 3 or 4 weeks to get a diagnosis, but I can tell you right now what's wrong. You have Lou Gehrig's disease. And it was like coming out of left field. We just, what are you talking about? We just couldn't even imagine. And Lori was with us, and the doctor said, do you have any questions? And I said, yeah, I got a whole page of them here for the surgery for the discs in his neck. He says, no, that has nothing to do with it. The muscles have wasted away, the nerves are disconnecting from the muscle, and that's what's causing the atrophy in his hands. And it will spread all through his body, his hands, arms, legs.
well, Jim Drever's completely paralyzed now.
And when was this?
March 29th, 2007. And so Dr. Singleton says we really don't have the capacity to take care of ALS here. So we're gonna send you to the University of Utah. So we got that appointment and went down there in June. And Dr. Mark W. Bromberg, who is world renowned for ALS, looked him over, and it was
Took all
ALS.
day.
Yeah, an all-day appointment, and he verified that it was ALS. They've found now that a lot of military people do get this, and in fact, it's so prevalent and, you know, it's just such a high percentage that they have, in September, they passed a law that any veteran, no matter how old he was, no matter how many years away from the service, if they get ALS, they are automatically put on full disability. So he will start getting disability checks from the VA. We're gonna go in next week and sign up for it. You have to apply for it. So we're gonna go in and do it. And Dr. Bromberg has told us since then that he thinks that the ALS started at least by January 1st, 2006, and maybe even a little sooner than that. So he's in the 3rd year, maybe the 4th, and the doctor says that he is going very slowly. Most people deteriorate faster, and especially older people. So he's done real good, haven't you, honey?
Yeah.
His arms and hands, he can't raise his arms like this
I
The
can
only-
get up that far.
that far. The only thing that's really paralyzed is this thumb, the left thumb. That's where it started, was in his left arm. And he can't bend it.
I can't bend
He can't do
Well, I
anything
can
with that
move it.
thumb.
otherwise, but the end of it, I can't bend it now.
But see, the other fingers he can still move. But the people, we,
There's no strength.
yeah, no strength. We started an ALS group for a support group, and we had a meet in Blackfoot so that Idaho Falls and Pocatello could both come to it. And the other people that are coming to that are all in their 50s. I mean,
Oh,
one or two are in their 40s, the policeman and
yeah,
Scott Gibson.
but you can get it from, it's a pollutant, disease is what it is.
Environmental
You can get it from
toxins, they
A whole
say,
bunch of
Wow.
things.
yeah.
Water that's not right, and
Air, the air
Air.
quality. Less than 10% of ALS patients, it's inherited. That's rare. And the other thing that's really rare with ALS is to get the dementia with it. That's very, very rare.
You getting pretty tired, Doyle?
yeah, I'm tired most of the time.
I mean, right now, do you want us to quit right now?
Well, we could go in the front room.
So he
It
could,
sure bothers my back.